Kia ora, welcome back again, everybody. Here with part 2 of the reaction to Mr. Big Phil Campion, how the SAS rescued soldiers captured by Sierra Leone rebels, the mission. So let's jump in.
You rehearsed absolutely everything until you were happy with it to the letter, all right? And then you've rehearsed everything that could go wrong. So you were happy with that to the letter. Rehearse, 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 rehearse. And in between times, get your kit ready. Clean your kit. Make sure everything's working. Make sure you've got everything. Make sure that absolutely nothing is left to chance. In between those last rehearsals being done, which went on into sort of like after last light, there was a period of time where you could go and get your head down, go to sleep. And I found it extremely difficult to go to sleep that night. I tried and I couldn't. I had too much on my mind. One of the things that was bugging me actually was it was my son's birthday on the 10th, and the 10th was the day that we were actually fighting. And I thought the irony of dying on your son's birthday was, it just flicked something in my own mind that said, you know, it could be you tomorrow.
Man, that's that's heavy, eh? I was going to say I would have been surprised if he could have got to sleep, considering HL and the deadline, the time frame for when they were planning on going in for this hostage rescue. And then just to hear him speak about the fact that it was his son's birthday, the day that they were going in. Yeah, no wonder it was heavy and hard for him to be able to get to sleep. Well, I don't know if it was heavy, but clearly, like you said, he couldn't get any sleep, which isn't surprising, like hearing that.
And it just unsettled me a little bit, as it were. It wasn't, it wasn't a massive thing, but it was just another matchstick on the pile, like, as it were. Do you know what I mean? And then before we loaded onto helicopters, I remember one of the sergeant majors giving like a rousing speech. Before we got on the helicopter, you could hear the helicopters winding up, the noise of the engines, the whining of the turbines starting and all that sort of stuff. And it was crazy sound. Onto the helicopters, and everybody's ready, and the helicopters take off. Boom. And they don't hang around, they're up and they're out over Freetown. And then we're in a holding pattern. The two Chinooks, the two CH-47s, a figure of 8, backed and flanked by the two Lynxes, and we're in a holding pattern, well out to sea, well up in the air, probably about 20 odd grand, so that we can't be heard by anybody. And we're just sat there now waiting for the obs teams to turn around and go, right, you're ready to go. And we got over our earpieces. 0 Alpha has control, stand by. And as that second standby came in, I see the loadmaster giving the thumbs up, and the helicopters just boom, just dropped down into a formation where they could get as close as they could to the sea and absolutely smash it into the jungle below the like tree level and round this crazy course on up to target. And I remember, in amongst all this chaos in the back of the helicopter, just to sort of like, you could see through the hue of this red light so that it didn't damage your eyesight for when you got off the helicopter. You had a half eye on the loadmaster, who was going to be ultimately the guy who was going to tell you, 30 seconds out, and then was going to be telling you, red on, green on, go. I remember
30 seconds. Red on, green on, go.
There was a shout down from the front, and he's yelling 2 minutes, and he's got his hand up right, and he's going 2 minutes. And I'm still bouncing about at this stage of the campaign, and I suddenly think to myself, fucking hell, this might be my last 2 minutes on the planet. The whole helicopter must have been thinking the same thing, because the thing just went poof. Silence in the back of the helicopter from guys geeing each other up. All of a sudden, the steely eyes went on, and people are now switched on. They know within inside 2 minutes, they're going to be coming out of the back of this helicopter into the mother of all punch-ups. So as we came round the last sort of like bend as we were coming in, the helicopter starts to flare. I remember seeing a great big flash down the side of the helicopter, and then you could hear the chain guns almost engaging straight away. Over the noise of the helicopter's blades, which were turning, people screaming now, 30 seconds, red on, and before you knew it, the back of the helicopter had touched down on the ground, and we were off, and we were out, and we were charging. Now, the plan had been, he'd come out, back of the helicopter, he'd go there. He'd come out, he'd go there. He'd go there. He'd come out, he'd go there. So we'd peel in. And eventually we would end up like this. This wasn't going to take very long at all, okay? So you'd end up in a straight line facing across the football pitch, and our first target was probably here, okay? So there we go. That's our first target, is probably here, all right? And these guys have got one here, and I've got one here, and there's a series of buildings. And then the plan was, this is going to take off once he knows we're all down. That's going to disappear out the way, and we're just going to fight across there. They'll probably move, they'll move, they'll move, they'll move, and we'll just cover each other as we go across the football pitch fighting, okay? Job's a good one. However, helicopter touches down, all right? First guy comes out, and instead of facing that way, faces this way. I'm like, fuck, what's he done that for? So I go there, another bloke goes there, a couple of these switch on and go, right, we need to go over here. And before you know it, we're like a bugger's muddle at the back of the helicopter thinking, what the fuck are we doing? And we're facing the wrong fucking way. And I'm like, but there is activity going on here, and there are targets that need engaging.
You know what I love about Phil is just his honesty, the rawness, unfiltered, the truth. Hey, this is what happens. People think, it's like the movies and everything runs and goes smooth, slow as smooth, smooth as fast, blinking. A great saying, and yes, you can get things to flow nice and smooth and nicely and crisp, etc., and looks great. But bloody hell, this is awesome. Just cracking up listening to Phil talking about this guy's facing the wrong way. So I go here, a couple other blokes switch on and they realise they got to go here. We're all facing the wrong way. But clearly there's still targets, there's still potential threats in that other area. But hence the rehearse. You heard him talk about it. But even when you rehearse something that many times till you're absolutely comfortable with it, man, things can still turn to custard on the day. Jamie Pinnell talks about it. Your plan is only as good until you get to the start line. And here's just another example of it. But the way Phil articulates it, just unfiltered, honest, is awesome. And I think that's just another reason why so many people admire and respect him and appreciate him. So respect Phil.
And the helicopters concentrated its efforts this way because the observation team had been here. He didn't want to blue on blue. He didn't want to be killing people he shouldn't be. But the fact was we were taking incoming from here and we needed to deal with it. So we fucking did. So this disappeared, bang. And now we're facing the wrong fucking way. I'm like, what do we do about this? And the commander literally looked up and went, wait, lads, we're facing the wrong way. And we done this bizarre thing when he went, right, you lot move first and we'll cover you. So they got up, turned around, got back down. And then we did this bizarre move where we all under the cover of each other ended up facing this way. Off we went again. These two fighting like this to their building, us fighting like this, okay, to our building. There's rounds going absolutely fucking everywhere. There's chaos. There's absolute screaming, shouting. There's people shooting at us from here. There's people who've shot at us from there. The whole thing has gone completely fucking Pete Tong, right? So halfway across the football pitch, boom, flash, bang. What the fuck's that? I feels it in my arm. One of the patrol members in our patrol is screaming, I've been hit, but he's okay. All right, but he's going, I'm going to have to stay here for a bit, which unnerved me a little bit. I'm thinking, fuck me, it must be worse than what we think. But he didn't want to seem like it was worse than what he thinks because that's the patrol commander. So he's going, carry on, lads, I'll catch you up. Do you know what I mean? We're going, that must be bad. But we'd been told, you can't stay in this area now and go and look after him. So he's going to have to look after himself until everything's cleared because you can imagine what could happen here. I'll go back to see if he's okay. And then he goes back to join me. If I'm before you know it, we're all in the shit, aren't we? So literally had to leave him there, carry on with what we was doing, fight on through, clear the buildings as to plan. Then we can start thinking about the guys that have been injured. There's still scrapping going on all over the place because you can hear it. You're not sure exactly what's going on, but I knew that what was in front of me was clear. And that now we had to face into the jungle in case they decided to reorganise and come back and give us another go. You're now waiting for the various teams, patrols, to say that they're in a similar situation to us, where they're all happy. And I remember the sergeant major was visiting people to just make sure that everybody was where they should be. And as he came past me, he kicked me and said, you might as well get a cup of tea on. I think they know we're here by now. So I decided, right, fuck it, I'll get a cup of tea on the go. So I crawled into this little foxhole, right? This little depression in the ground. I had this thing, this system in my own mind where, because I had a weapon that was on a bipod, I could stick that into my shoulder and I could make a cup of tea one-handed. As I'm drinking my cup of tea, My mate starts kicking me leg. As I look over to him, he goes like this and points in that direction. More enemy. And what the enemy had done was, where we'd gone sort of like fairly silent, and where people were now just sort of like conducting their business without making any noise, the enemy must have thought, oh, good, they've fucked off now, we'll come back in. And there's a group of them getting ready to come back in, and my mate's seen them. I draw my weapon properly into my shoulder, and it is possible to fire these things one-handed, right? Keep my cup of tea on the go. And as they come to within a manageable distance, obviously we let them have the good news and let them know that we're still here. So we deal with the situation as it was. We then get this sort of like to-ing and fro-ing for quite some time, where people try and get back into the village and they're repelled, and it goes on for quite some time. So you can hear, various little scuffles going on around the village. And I don't know how long that went on for, but eventually the mortar tube got going, and we sort of like just mortared into the various pockets of where we thought the enemy were. Bum, 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 bum. And then this helicopter turned up, right? This helicopter turned up, this big white beast from Russia with the great big bazookas on the side of it. And I'm like, fucking hell, here he comes. And I remember my patrol commander said, right, we're going to flatten an area in front of us first. We're going to give it the good news in front of us, because that's where the majority of the stuff was coming from. So he says to me, have you got a smoke? Not a smoke, but a smoke grenade. So I pulls out an orange smoke. Yeah, I've got one. He said, right, just hoon it over there. He said, and that will be the marker for the helicopter, so that he knows where we are and he doesn't fire at us. He goes past that. So I lob this smoke. Down it goes, boom, rolls along the thing. Orange smoke everywhere. And before it's built up into a massive cloud, there's this almighty crack and thump. Boom, 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 fucking hell, as these missiles come wanging over the top of us. And you can hear branches from trees just dissipating all over the place. Concurrently, the team have already got hold of the hostages and they're already secure. So they burst through straight into the room. They've secured them. The look of relief on them and the look of, wow, we're actually going out of here, because there must have been so many times they'd been under mock executions. They'd been told this, they'd been told that. They'd been taken to the limit countlessly by the West Side boys. They'd been taunted. They'd been spat on. They'd been, treated worse than dogs. So the helicopters are now ferrying in and out, dragging people off. First to go were obviously the hostages, get them out of there. Then there's a helicopter full of enemy dead, get pulled out of there. Then there's, I don't know what order they were, but, I was fairly low down on the pecking order to get out of there as we were sort of like holding the perimeter, and then everybody collapsed and the last helicopter would have taken off. I wasn't on the last one, but, there was enemy weapons to be taken out of there and disposed of and all that sort of stuff. So the whole operation of getting everybody back, I don't even know how long it took. But it took a fair amount of time. It wasn't something that was over within 5 minutes. And then that was it. It was done. You're back in camp, scratching your nuts in your underpants, going, what the fuck happened now? Do you know what I mean? It was absolutely bonkers. Do you know what I
mean? Crack up. Well, there's a few things, The English, the Brits love their cup of tea. So, yeah, you don't want to get between them and a cup of tea by the sounds of things from what I'm hearing. But, yeah, I can't imagine myself or other people that I've worked with putting on a brew during a situation like that. But full credit to him and his team. That's what they did. But hectic. And then them holding their ground. So it sounds like, yeah, he was part of that team that was securing the landing zone by the sounds of things. I don't know. It sounds like, when I'm listening to him, it sounds like that's where they extracted the hostages and that from that space as they were holding that hard case. Grateful how it all worked out is what I should say. The first thing, great that the team that went in to get the hostages got them. So that must have been the team that roped in, I'm assuming, right at Devil's doorstep, and went in and did the business and got the lads out of there, which is awesome. And then start the evacuation. First chopper in, the hostages and that, they're on the first package out and out of there. Big Phil said he wasn't on the last one, but there's clearly a team that was on the last package. Hopefully the patrol commander that was injured must have been all right. Phil didn't talk about him again, so took a bit of a hit and then must have got himself sorted and they got him squared away. Yeah, that not, I guess, losing sense of or track of time in terms of how long it all took. And then all of a sudden he's back in the scratcher or back in camp and, yeah, scratching away in his underpants, wondering what the heck went on there. Crack up, man, the way this fella speaks. Thank you again, Dr. Ian Ian Plect, I think that's the name. I hope I'm saying it correctly, brother. Thank you very much for your input, for your comms, for your Dr. Ian Plect, hope you don't mind, for your patriotism and support and recognition and admiration for your country, for your unit, these representatives, the big Phil Campions of the world, and all the other lads as part of 22 SAS, the Des Powells of the world, the Mel Downs of the world, all those lads, all those guys that have served their country and serve and represent the units with integrity and everything positive around how the unit should be represented. So yeah, awesome. Thank you for this video and the other ones. I'll get to his one with the team house as well. But yeah, there's lots of requests and lots of videos and things scheduled to go up in the coming weeks, and trying to get ahead as much as I can. So anyway, let's see this. See how this finishes off.
I mean, so various people have been off on the hospital ship. We now knew that we knew when we were on the ground fairly early that we'd lost a guy on the ground. Unfortunately, tragically, Brad was killed. We knew that while we were out there, but when we got back in, with various other people have been carted off to the hospital ship. They were all thankfully okay. There was a few walking wounded. Myself, I had I didn't even think about the hole in my arm. We went and spent the night on an RFA ship, a Fleet Auxiliary ship, and had a few beers on there. And before you knew it, and within sort of like less than 24 hours, or it felt less than 24 hours, you're staring down Hard On Hill. Hard On Hill being the last hill before you get home in Hereford that overlooks it. You always get hard on, your missus is coming. In that day, I must have...
Hard On Hill. I have not heard that before. But yeah, I'll store that one. I won't worry about repeating it. If you want to hear what he said, I'll have the link to his full video. You can rewind that around the 25-minute, must have been 7 or 8 or 5-second mark, 25 minutes and 5-second mark, and then just watch it again from there, and you'll hear the Hard On Hill comment and what it's referenced to. Crack up.
I must have experienced every emotion that I've got, and visited a few that I didn't even know that I fucking had, all right? So, if you think about it, nervous doesn't even touch how you felt at some stages while you were thinking about what you had to do. Absolute fucking elation when they finally say you're going to go. When I found out Brad had been killed, fucking raging when I found out they'd killed one of ours. Relieved when I got off the ground myself and I'm still alive. And we call that being in the Glad to Be Alive club. You're still starry-eyed, but you're like, well, at least I'm out of there. Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's crazy. And that's how it was. That's how the mission went. Everybody we went to get from that village came out. Although we didn't all come home ourselves, the mission was to bring those people out of that village, and that's what we did. Okay, so that was a successful mission from that point of view. In terms of that, it was a successful operation. Obviously, we had a casualty ourselves, which we needed to bury, and Brad Tinian was a superb soldier. He's also a very good friend of mine, and when I think of the sacrifice that he made, it goes above and beyond what would be expected of anybody in my book. So he was an absolutely superb top guy, and he died doing the job that he loved. Helping to resolve something which was, nothing of his doing, but his duty, his sense of pride, led him, into that situation. So that's Brad, and an extremely, extremely top fella. Will always be remembered by myself. Fode Calais was put on trial. He went to prison. As far as hostilities within that region, that fairly much put pay to it. After that, there was nothing really. And I've heard it loads of times before. You get people who say to you, oh, conflict sorts nothing out. Well, it did sort that out. It actually did sort that out. It did. I had a friend of mine visit the village recently, and the children in that village now cut around with pens and paper and not AK-47s. And if that's not a success story, then there never was one. It's absolutely imperative that people understand that the sacrifices that were made on that day by, and the ultimate sacrifice that was made by Brad have paved the way for people to have a better life. And so, I'm extremely proud of that, is what I'm saying. Really, I think my final word will always go to the 3 guys that didn't come home. 2 guys didn't come home from Kenya, and 1 guy didn't come home from Sierra Leone. And that was ultimately the price that we paid.
In April 1980,
man, Awesome, Phil. Respect, brother. Rest in peace to your mate, Brad, to your brother, Brad, and to, I think you mentioned there were three that didn't, two from Kenya, one from Sierra Leone that didn't make it home. Yeah, rest in peace. But hearing his thoughts, man, the way he articulates that, a lot of credit, a lot of merit in what he's just said. There are people, and rightly or wrongly, everybody's entitled to their opinion. You know, war, conflict doesn't sort anything out, doesn't change anything. Yeah, that may be the case, but I think, here's one example, and there are many other examples that could be shared in terms of, as tragic as war is, and people don't want it, some good can come from those things sometimes. And Big Phil has just provided an example of some of that. The children run around with pens and paper now in that village, not with AK-47s. It changed the landscape, and the individual that was sort of leading that sort of stuff was arrested or tried and went to jail, and whatever the case may be, which made things a lot better by the sounds of things. So, those like Big Phil Campion and his teammates, his colleagues, his brothers, his peers, and others that have been and seen that type of stuff, that type of conflict, come out the other side, live to tell the tale, experienced all the different ranges of emotions that one could experience. I'm just grateful that we have those people like that still out there today, doing that work if they need to, or preparing daily, constantly, in case of they need to be called upon or utilized. We hope that doesn't have to happen, but we're not the smartest, us here on this planet, in terms of what we're doing and how we go about doing things, and how, if we don't get what we want, we decide, well, we'll just either go and take it, or we will go to war. So it's likely inevitable that more situations will happen and occur, and having people like this in the background, in the shadows, that are training, constantly preparing, standing ready, standing guard, standing watch, I'm grateful for it anyway. So appreciate you all for your time. Coming here, listening to Big Phil. Like I said, the link will be in the description of this video, so you can just click on that and watch that without me ruining it and interrupting. Respect to Big Phil and his colleagues, his team, 22 SAS, etc., the UKSF community. Thank you again, Dr. Ian Plect, for sending this through. Appreciate you. I know you've got other stuff there, which I will get to, or the other video. But yeah, I'll get to it. As always, anybody going through any challenges, trials, struggles, man, just keep turning up, keep staying in the fight, keep putting one foot in front of the other, stay consistent, stay disciplined, regardless of what misery you may be going through. I know it's easier said than done. I 100% know that it's easier said than done. So if you need to stay in your own space, but just continue to show up each day, as miserable as it may be, then I encourage you to keep turning up. Just keep staying in that fight. Know that you're not alone. Know that you're not the only person struggling, going through challenges and trials. Everybody is. My experience, everybody is in some way, shape, or form. Some may be heavier, some may feel heavier and more burdensome than others, but everybody's got demons that they're battling, so to speak. So yeah, keep at it. Remember, the sun will shine again. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. So go always a little further. Who dares wins, and who cares wins. And until the next video, a big mana wave coming from me to you, filled with my idle heart, respect, appreciation, and gratitude for you all.